right. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most important chapters in the entire story of life on Earth. We're talking about the gymnosperms. Now, this is a group of plants that cracked an absolutely major evolutionary code. And in doing so, they managed to break free from the water and conquer the land in a way that no plant had ever done before. So let's get right into it. So, you've all seen a pine cone, right? I mean, it's super familiar, it's common, but this little structure and others like it represents a massive biological revolution that went down hundreds of millions of years ago. You can think of it as a natural time capsule, a brilliant piece of engineering that holds the key to how plants truly mastered living on land. That secret? Well, it's the seed. And today, we're going to uncover exactly how it changed everything. Now, to really appreciate what a huge leap this was, you have to understand the problem they were facing. Before seed plants came along, life for plants like mosses and ferns was, well, it was kind of an aquatic balancing act. Yeah, they could live on land, sure, but for the most important event of their entire lives, reproduction, they were completely chained to water. Their sperm literally had to swim to get to the egg. This tethered them to damp, soggy environments, and it seriously limited how far they could spread across the globe. The solution to this massive problem came with the evolution of the very first seed plants, the gymnosperms. And the clue to their revolutionary design, it's hidden in plain sight, right there in the name. So what in the world does gymnosperm actually mean? And what makes their seeds so different? Okay, so let's break it down. The name comes from two Greek words, gymnos, which means naked, and yep, that's the same root as in the word gymnasium, and sperma, which means seed. So a gymnosperm is quite literally a naked seed plant. But what does that really mean, biologically? To see that, we've got to compare them to the plants that came after them. This diagram right here shows the crucial difference perfectly. See on the left, that's the gymnosperm setup. The ovule, that's the little structure that's going to become the seed, is just sitting out in the open, usually on the surface of a scale, like inside a pine cone. It's exposed directly to the air when it's time for pollination. Now look to the right. That's an angiosperm, or a flowering plant. Its ovules are tucked away safely inside a protective little chamber called an ovary. And that ovary is what eventually becomes a fruit. Gymnosperms don't have ovaries, and because of that, they don't produce true fruits. Let's dig into that a little deeper. This whole condition of having an exposed ovule, it's got a name, gymno-ovuli. So, like we just saw, the ovules are totally exposed when it's time to get pollinated. They also lack something called a funicle, which in flowering plants is the tiny stalk that attaches the ovule to the ovary wall. Gymnosperms just don't have them. And finally, the gymnosperm ovules is protected by just a single outer layer, or integument, while most flowering plants actually have two. So the main takeaway here is, it's a simpler, more direct, and definitely more naked reproductive setup. So where did this incredible innovation even come from? For that, we've got to wind the clock way back to a group of plants that are now totally extinct, the pteridosperms. You might know them better as the seed ferns. Now, these weren't actually true ferns, but they sure looked a lot like them. They were the pioneers, the group that built the bridge between the old world of spore-producing plants and the brand new world of seed producers. They were the ones who first developed this game-changing reproductive toolkit. And this slide just brilliantly lays out the steps they took. First up, the evolution of pollen. This tiny, super durable package carrying the male genetic material could be carried by the wind, which completely 100% eliminated the need for water for fertilization. That was huge. Step 2 was the pollen tube. Once a pollen grain landed near the ovule, it didn't just release swimming sperm into the void. No way. It grew a microscopic tube, a direct delivery system that literally burrowed in to deliver the sperm right to the egg's doorstep. And finally, step 3, the ovule itself. This wasn't just an egg, it was a whole life support system for the embryo, providing protection and nutrition, all wrapped up in a neat little package, the seed, that could just hang out and wait for the perfect time to grow. The seed ferns may be long gone, but wow, their legacy is alive and well. The innovations they pioneered are carried on today by a really fascinating and diverse group of plants. So let's fast forward to the present and see how this ancient lineage is doing on Earth today. Modern gymnosperms are divided into 4 major groups, or phyla. As you can see right here on this phylogenetic tree, we've got the Conifers, the Cycads, the Ginkgos, and the Gnetophytes. And while they all share that fundamental naked seed trait, they are remarkably different from each other in how they look and how they live. First up, the giants of the gymnosperm world, the Coniferophyta. This is the group you're almost certainly the most familiar with. It includes all the pines, the firs, the spruces, cedars, and even those absolutely towering redwoods. With over 550 species, they are by far the largest and most economically important group, forming these vast forests all across the globe and giving us most of the world's timber and paper. Next, we have the Cycadophyta. And these plants, they are true relics. I mean, they look like palm trees, but they're not even remotely related. With their stout, woody trunks and those big, tough leaves, they look like they belong in the Jurassic period. And guess what? They do. The age of dinosaurs was also the age of cycads, and these survivors give us an amazing glimpse into the ecosystems of the ancient past. And speaking of survivors, this is maybe the most incredible story of them all. The entire division, Ginkgo is represented by just one single species, Ginkgo biloba. That's it. Its ancestors were everywhere, but today this one species is all that's left. With its unique fan-shaped leaves, it is a true living fossil. It's so unbelievably resilient, in fact, that it's often planted in big cities because of its remarkable ability to just shrug off pollution. And finally, we have the Gymnophyta, who are kind of the oddballs of the gymnosperm world. This is a strange and eclectic group of 3 very different-looking types of plants. What makes them so interesting to botanists is that they have some features, like certain vessels in their wood, that are actually more typical of flowering plants. They're a real evolutionary puzzle, and they include bizarre plants like this one, Welwitschia mirabilis, which can live for over 1,000 years in the Namib Desert, producing only 2 leaves in its entire lifetime. Just wild. So if we add up all the species in those 4 groups, the Conifers, Cycads, Ginkgo, and Gnetophytes, we get a grand total of roughly 1,000 living species of gymnosperms today. That sounds like a pretty respectable number, right? Well, yeah, until you compare it to the flowering plants. The angiosperms just exploded in diversity, and now they completely dominate most ecosystems on the planet, with well over 250,000 species, and we're still counting. The gymnosperms, who were once the rulers of the plant world, are now a very distinct minority. But here's the thing, being outnumbered doesn't make them any less important. Not at all. In fact, their position as this ancient lineage that has survived in a world absolutely dominated by flowers, well, that gives them a unique and crucial significance. They aren't just relics, they are storytellers. And this is really the core of their importance. This quote says it all, perfectly. By studying gymnosperms, we can actually see these evolutionary steps in action. They are the living bridge between the ancient world of spore producers and our modern world of flowering plants. They perfectly preserve and demonstrate the critical innovations, the pollen, the ovule, the seed, that made everything that came after them even possible. So as we wrap this up, let's just think about that for a second. From the towering sequoias, which are the oldest and largest living things on Earth, to the tenacious ginkgo that literally survived an atomic bomb, to that bizarre Welwitschia just enduring in the desert. These plants are masters of survival. They may be ancient, but they are not obsolete. They are a testament to an evolutionary design that was so incredibly successful, it continues to thrive millions of years later. So what then can these incredible survivors teach us about the very nature of resilience? That is definitely something to think about.